Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Crypto Byte. Sorry for the delay, but we are here. Today is Thursday, January 20th. Interesting news to talk about today. Some news from Russia hitting the headlines has a little bit of, some scary connotations here. We'll talk about that. Also, a little bit more to dive into. But before we do, CJ, how are you doing today, my friend?
Doing well, Monty. Interesting to see some bullish price action, not only in traditional markets, but also crypto, of course. Interested to get into the S&P, look at those charts as well. But specifically with Russia banning Bitcoin mining, I was disappointed in some of the CoinDesk articles. I wanted them to put the main title image of Putin riding the bear or like photoshopped there. That would have been a lot more funny. But yeah, interesting stuff. Historically, it's been a favorable time to accumulate Bitcoin when we've had these bans historically. So we'll see what happens based on that. But how are you, my friend?
Yeah, doing all right. Missed opportunity there by those media outlets to use that prolific photo, but let's dive right into that headline here because it is, all over the various crypto news outlets this morning. Russia proposes ban on use and mining of cryptocurrencies, and this is the main takeaway here. Russia's central bank on Thursday today proposed that they'll be banning the use and mining of cryptocurrencies on Russian territory, citing threats to financial stability, citizens' well-being, and monetary policy sovereignty. So, interesting stuff here. Honestly, this is the more or less the exact same approach that China took. At the end of last year, they cited the same reasons for banning cryptocurrency use and mining. They did it in kind of a two-legged approach, right, where they banned mining first and gave people, extended period of time to get their coins off of exchanges and stop using those currencies. It'll be interesting to see how Russia does go forward with this proposed ban because it will have implications on price action. If it is, all at once, then perhaps we won't see that lagging out that we kind of saw with the China news. But here, obviously there is a large demographic of cryptocurrency traders in Russia. So this is pretty significant news. What are your thoughts after hearing this headline here this morning, CJ?
Um, I think it's not a good move, obviously, for Russia. I think it's decreases their transparency. And they could reverse that ban if they decide to. They haven't implemented it yet. They're kind of just discussing it, so it's kind of impacting the market in that sense. But I don't think it's going to have an immediate impact either. One of the things that was really contributive to sell pressure back in the 2018 bear market and really led to that drop from like 7K to 3,500 was due to a lot of miners selling out because they were either trying to force their competitors out of the market or just take profits and capitulate. But we don't really see that this time around. We see a lot of like very large Bitcoin miners like Riot and Mara just like taking loans out against their BTC to pay expenses, but not literally selling their crypto. So that's obviously not as much sell pressure that was added in relation to like previous cycles. So quite interesting. But the mining landscape is very interesting, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this plays out in Russia.
Yeah, me too.
Also,
One last thing I just wanted to say was, I think it's just really interesting, that typically when we see FUD, it's kind of a company with even more FUD. But what's interesting about this news is that just last week we had news that Venezuela would begin looking to add cryptocurrency to their balance sheet, Bitcoin specifically, and allowing for the use of Bitcoin through the Strike network in their country. Then a week later, we have Russia on the other side of the world doing the exact opposite, banning the use and mining of cryptocurrency. So, I mean, obviously there are massive geopolitical differences between those two countries, and they're on the opposite side of the world, but they're basically going the exact opposite direction in terms of their outlook on Bitcoin. And I just find that interesting. But yeah, what were you about to go on to before I cut you off there?
well, we'll get to it, but just to finish your point there, or just kind of expand on it. Yeah, like Russia is a dominant country. They can kind of play the game how they want, so to speak, as can China. Whereas you have smaller countries, not like powerhouses of the world, so to speak. They're not there to pick the winners. They're like, I just go with the market, and whatever wins, like I'm going to, ultimately implement and adopt. But Aside from that point, let's move to crypto.com news. I think you guys have likely heard of this already and the hack that they had recently experienced after suspending withdrawals due to suspicious activity. Now we've actually had confirmation that 400 or roughly 400 customer accounts were compromised, and the losses added up to approximately 30 million. We don't know the exact total number yet, but on chain, we can confirm that 30 million in Ether was stolen and being laundered via Tornado Cash, Bitcoin Mixer, or just Ether Mixer. Crypto.com has a lot of money, so they just compensated users for hacked funds. So none of the users lost funds like the old days, but still not great in terms of like security and just overall trustworthiness. It was nice they compensated the users at least, though. Crypto exchanges were not able to do that back in like the Stone Age era of crypto.
Oh yeah, if you lost your money, it was gone. They could not pay you back. But yeah, with this crypto.com news, I think it's also particularly interesting in the context of what it means for the kind of regulation or regulatory environment. Just yesterday, right after that crypto.com announcement, SEC Chair Gary Gensler came out and said that regulating crypto exchanges was on his agenda. So that's no coincidence. And I think you made a good point yesterday, CJ, in it was, I don't know if our webinar or Daily Crypto Byte, but you mentioned how crypto.com exchange is likely one of the first ones that would be hit with regulational sanctions because of the fact that they list so many assets. They allow you to withdraw these assets, transfer off exchange. On most highly regulated exchanges or exchanges that are very cautious from a regulatory perspective, you can't really transfer off a lot of assets. You've probably noticed that on exchanges like Coinbase or Voyager, or even places like Gemini as well. Those transfers are limited, and that's because of KYC reasons. So it'll be interesting to see how the SEC kind of goes about handling that, because exchanges like crypto.com, they have a wide pool of offerings, and also they allow you to transfer those off exchanges, and it'll be interesting to see how the SEC kind of looks at that.
Yeah, I believe the correct term or the correct phase yesterday was they list anything. Let's get to the S&P, because we are actually seeing some very bullish price action this morning, and I want to get into that. So
Yeah.
going over to the charts here, let's take a look at the S&P. We actually have a nice bullish candle. It's not that much, but it's very promising thus far in terms of like bullish price action. It's that classic bullish Harami candle where you have this is something that is a little bit more unique to the stock market, since you have like these opening gaps and closing gaps. But ultimately, this is like a very textbook bullish Harami candle at the bottom of a downtrend. And then when you pair that with the volatility or VIX fix indicator, this thing has been really accurate in terms of calling bottoms when volatility increases in the market based on people selling. So this thing is like, I think 8 for 8 or maybe 10 for 10 in its last retests of these levels. Granted, that is also because the trend has held up and has continued to be bullish. We haven't had any major corrections in the S&P yet, but even so, I think we're likely going to see a reaction rally at least to this 20 smooth moving average, or up to the previous resistance level at around 46, 4,700. And I think that'll do well for crypto as well. When we look at yields specifically in the 10-year and the TNX, as well as the 30-year, they're still going up. They're not going up at the rate at which they were last week. So I suppose that market participants are a little less fearful. And we're seeing that effect ultimately come into crypto as well, with Bitcoin trading over over 43K here. Bouncing from some critical levels, putting in higher lows. The bulls are really trying to keep this thing above 42K, but we'll see in terms of macro uncertainty and whether this is truly an authentic rally to break us out of this 43 to 45 channel, or perhaps it's just a small reaction rally similar to this one that just gets faded into. So just kind of flat right now, not really taking any aggressive positions, but very interesting to see where the S&P is lining up right now. Any thoughts on that, Monty?
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of almost frustrating in a sense to see how correlated the traditional equity markets and Bitcoin and crypto in general kind of have been over the last couple of weeks to months here. And I think, your point about the TNX was a good one. That was, looking very, very strong just at the beginning of this week, making new highs, breaking above that critical 1.8 level. That had a lot of people fearful, myself included, about what that could mean for the traditional equity market. But, people are stepping in. We talked about the role that the bulls would have to play for Bitcoin in protecting that 40K level. It seems like we're almost seeing a similar thing in the S&P as well. They're trying to protect this trend, keep that, money train rolling. And, that's going to take some significant effort given the fact that we're seeing things like we are with the TNX and the DXY and the Fed talking about, increasing rates and whatnot. So setting up for some interesting price action here. But I agree, CJ, until we get above, some critical levels here, break above 45K on some strong volume, this could just potentially be a relief rally. And that's based on what we're seeing in traditional equities. But, we'll keep watching today. Alts are looking relatively strong as well. So that's worth noting too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. If you'd like to know Monty and I's personal trade insights, what we do, the actions that we take in our own accounts, you can check out the link in the description below to join our community. Not just us, but also a group of traders that are really insightful and bring a lot of value to the community in general, specifically around like all categories, NFTs, technical analysis trading, DeFi kingdoms and magic and things like that, those type of ecosystems. So, I really think there is something for everybody in this community, and you guys have done a great job thus far of, building that up and forming it. So overall, thank you guys for watching. Hope you have a great day in the world, wherever you are. And Monty, I'll leave it for the final word, sir.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, have a great rest of your day. And please don't forget to like and subscribe. Helps out a lot. So thank you guys. We will see you again tomorrow. Take care.